Small disclaimer before I start the video, this build is optimized for my enjoyment of the game. I won't lie to you about it being Hazard 100 viable, since technically anything is Hazard 100 viable if your team knows what they are doing. Without further ado, here's the build and the equipment I use. Now let me explain how I got to this build. So, after my little vacation, I came back to Creedbreaker and tried out a lot of build archetypes, and I simply just wanted to shoot at things. I'm sure many of you who have stuck with this game know that anchors, more specifically dealing with anchor corruptions, are important. But after some time playing, they start to feel like an unavoidable side quest that someone is forced to compromise a build with. I don't know about you, but I do not enjoy sitting and slightly moving for 12 to 15 seconds while being unable to do anything else, which could take longer because the uncorrupting does not save progress. This build can certainly uncorrupt anchors, but you should really let others do it unless it's a last resort and your teammates absolutely refuse to leave the shop, which I don't really blame them for, honestly. This build is meant to help kill the bigger threats that your technicians or specialist equipment can't deal with in a timely manner. Although due to this game's balancing, you could have just played Avenger, but Assault offers a different playstyle other than pop stim to win. This also isn't a crowd control build, since you are relying purely on aim to kill everything instead of throwing a big massive AoE thing or watching your equipment do the work. I had to stop playing these type of builds because they were so strong I was picking up bad habits playing them. I'll probably make a video on these types of builds later, but like I said before, they created bad habits. Okay, maybe pretending to be a B2 bomber for fun isn't a bad thing from time to time though. Let me repeat that this is no means a meta build. This build is really meant for you to shoot your gun and hit your targets for a dopamine spike. So, if you can't do that reliably, expect to have a miserable time. You aren't as glass cannon like most Royal Flush builds that fall over from paper cuts, but your main form of defense is a good offense. It's probably one of the few builds you can never be too good at. I would say there are no mandatory perks, but I played around with this build for about 500 or so standing ranks, and it ended up being these specific ones that gave results and I had the most fun with. The first perk I feel is a no-brainer, which is the Texas Red, also known as the H8 Divider, which has everything you would probably need in a pistol. It has a decent reload combined with the assault passives that make this gun already have relatively quick downtimes. Not to mention the fact that it can ignore light and heavy armor. This is extremely important for bosses like Night Demon, Freya, Scorched King, or Nemesis, who like to block their head with their tier 1 or tier 2 armor. It's also useful for the BSD operatives on Hazard 80, because sometimes it's simply just hard to hit their head, so hitting their body isn't a bad idea. It isn't ideal, but sometimes the shot nearly is impossible. It also has 3 Purists, which means it can go through 3 extra targets, or at least I hope that's what that means considering how this game works sometimes, which is useful for an important reason I will get into later. Also, remember, no matter how much Pierce you have on a gun, you still cannot shoot through teammates. The last thing that is special about the Texas Red is that it gains an extra 1.15 multiplier on headshots on top of the already existing multiplier. I don't think I need to state why having more damage for hitting what you should be hitting is a good thing. The next perk I use is Fistful of Dollars. On the surface, it seems kind of weak, but it does give enough damage to allow you to 5-shot a Thrashwalker in the body instead of 6 without a crit with the other perks and class specializations I will mention later. Another benefit is most certainly the extra credit gain on kill. The more you kill, the faster you can buy 2 Texas Reds, attack restocks, PMSs, las markers, yeah, you get the point. It is also nice to help a teammate who has lost all their money due to a bug, them falling off a map, or if their credits are just in some dangerous area. Next up is Fan the Hammer, and it gives you 35% more fire rate, which is kind of insane. Unfortunately, you either have to be able to click very fast and be able to aim well while doing so, or resort to other means. If you are wondering what I do, I am the former. This is what my gameplay sounds like when I had my mic on during recording. All those years of Osu were not for nothing apparently. Fan the Hammer allows you to do a significant amount of damage, if not outright killing bosses within the 6-second time window of Bulletstorm if you are playing Assault. Even without Bulletstorm, being able to dispatch any big target by dumping 8 bullets into them nearly instantly is always nice to have. Next up is High Noon, which is amazing to have, since it gives you everything you need to make the Texas Red a laser beam with very little downtime on Assault without needing to run any other quality of life perks. This is synergized with Fan the Hammer, since you need to hit fire with pistols to get the benefit, allowing you to snipe accurately from a distance if you are Assault. Next on the list is I Won the West, which is one of the few things in this game that can sustain your health by being aggressive and does not rely on you needing to kill, just that you need to shoot the red guys. So, you can shrug off things like Scorch King's gas if you are just shooting them. I Won the West also has a very easy damage conditional of just needing to use a pistol for 50% more damage. This is a lot easier than needing to stand around at a certain range, risk losing all your damage on direct hit, or other various means. What's less spoken about I Won the West is the 2 extra mags. If you have ever played a pistol build before, you know how fast you run out of ammo with these things, so any extra mags is a great help. Now let's talk about Wanted Outlaw. Probably one of my favorite perks in the game because, for one, it rewards you for killing things, and 2, it's fun going fast. Even though it's fun, it's actually quite effective if you can kill things quickly. Then, you can just kite everything if you have enough room. This sort of solves the problem of cripple as long as you are shooting things. Usually the combo for bosses is to kill 2 to 3 random enemies, drop your Bulletstorm down, then start spraying at the boss for the rest of the duration. Or just shoot the boss directly and hope to hit things behind or in front of the boss to get a speed boost, which is why the Texas Red's 3 Pierce comes in handy in times like these. Now you may be wondering, why Assault? The answer is actually pretty simple: to make the Texas Red feel good to play. I wanted a laser accurate weapon with very low downtimes and decent damage. You can see the difference in comparison between Assault and Avenger with the same exact build in the background. Yes, you could argue that some classes are better, but remember, I said this was not a meta build, it's mostly optimized for my enjoyment. Now looking into specializations, I chose Plate Repair Kit, since you don't have any source of armor regen, and usually having anything other than your gun out can get you killed. It also happens just to give more accuracy and recoil control with a bigger ammo box radius, which is a nice addition. Swift Resupply is a must. I don't care who you are, I have no idea why they made the ammo box animation the slowest thing in existence, and I will die on this hill and say Swift Resupply is the best option here, no questions asked. More the Merrier is what I found to be a nice way to sustain my armor, since I usually just keep 1 ammo box for myself if I need armor, or just throw it at my teammates for fun. Then the other ammo box I save for mini bosses and bosses, since technically 1 is enough to kill one of those. If it's a boss like the BSD and we don't have some insane slop DPS, then I save 2 ammo boxes for them. The last specialization I usually pick is Bullets and Storm, because infinite ammo is fun, and more importantly, 6 seconds of said infinite ammo is more than enough for most things to die. If they don't die, then I hope you had another box somewhere. You can pick Shred if you plan to buff someone else who is the main DPS, like your Caldwell Slopvenger. And don't you dare pick Hela's Fuel with this build, I will personally send you to a psychiatric ward. But seriously, do what you want, I don't really care, as long as you're having fun. For the starting gear in this build, it doesn't matter too much as long as you have spare mags. I prefer MTI stim here as an extra safety net if things go really bad, like getting gassed out of position, or making a really dumb play. The reason why I have 2 Enforcer grenades is because sometimes I'm forced to do an anchor corruption, or reinforce my teammates, but invos are usually better if you have reliable enough teammates. For the endgame loadout, I will always have 2 Texas Reds, just make sure you have the M&A Machina derivative enabled. The melee weapon is your personal preference, since I used to use a shield, but Now I prefer using the gauntlets so I don't instinctively try to block hits with the melee, and instead just shoot at the problem, like a true American. Tips and advice for the build. 1. You will shit the bed. This build is actually pretty hard to play well. Even I make stupid mistakes sometimes while playing this build. 2. You have less DPS than other meta DPS or max DPS builds even under perfect conditions. So if someone else has one of these builds, adapt accordingly. An example being Kizuna one-shot builds. There is no point in shooting a boss if the boss is most likely dead, so shoot the enemies around your DPS player to help them out. 90% of the time, it is a bad idea to have your melee out in most situations. It's an extremely hard habit to break with this build, but you have to really trust your aim and sustain, which is counterintuitive to how other builds usually play out. 4. Just have fun, don't overthink it, it's just a game. Alright, that should be it for now. There's more stuff I wanted to talk about, but my voice is literally dying. Anyways, see ya, probably.